What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I unfortunately have some bad news for some small business owners, solo entrepreneurs, gig workers, and side hustlers. As of yesterday, the PPP has pretty much run out of funds. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what this means and what we can expect from the next couple of weeks and next couple of months. So let's get started. So at this point, we all know what the PPP is. The PPP is the Paycheck Protection Program, and it was the forgivable loan program that was established last year with the CARES Act to help businesses cope with the pandemic and with COVID-19. With the PPP, the funds are forgivable as long as you spend the funds in the way in which they are meant to be spent, as well as in the timeline they were meant to be spent in. Well, the PPP was originally set to expire this past March, so just about a month and a half ago, but it was extended by lawmakers. Whenever the PPP was extended, it was extended until May 31st, which is coming up in about 3 weeks. And whenever it was voted on and it was extended by lawmakers, it was a pretty easy decision. Like, there wasn't a lot of pushback, there wasn't a lot of debate on whether or not it should be extended, which is why it was extended until May 31st. Now, the thing to keep in mind when it comes to COVID programs and COVID relief is that yes, there is a due date of when the program ends, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the program is going to end on that due date. And the program could potentially end earlier if funds are exhausted before the due date. And that is exactly what happened with the PPP. The SBA came out yesterday afternoon and said that as of right now, they have exhausted all of the funds. And that is exactly what has happened with the PPP. Even though the PPP was set to expire on May 31st, which is coming up in about 3 weeks, the PPP as of yesterday has run out of funds, which kind of brings us to the end of the program. Now, to be honest, the news of this program running out of money is something that caught a lot of people by surprise, myself included. You see, as of just a couple of weeks ago, the SBA released new data stating that they still had about $30 billion that could be distributed to small business owners. In addition to the SBA's data itself, lawmakers just recently came out with a new bill that would allow more flexibility and thus more money to be allocated to small business owners as well. And I think we can all agree that we are all a bit skeptical on whether or not that bill would even provide a lot of value because of the time crunch that we're in with the PPP. But I think we can also all agree that we're all a bit surprised on the fact that the PPP has run out of money so quickly. Now, as of today, Thursday, May 6th, the SBA has announced that the funds have been exhausted for most borrowers. The SBA has set aside $8 billion for community financial institutions, which is financial institutions that are serving minority and underprivileged communities. In addition, the SBA has announced that lenders still are addressing PPP applications that have already been submitted and that are in the process of being reviewed. But as of yesterday, they will not be accepting any new applicants. And so if you are somebody who could receive your financing through a community financial institution, or if you're somebody who has already submitted your PPP application and you're just waiting for it to be reviewed and approved, then these two instances could still allow for you to receive PPP funds. But if you're somebody who hasn't applied and you're wanting to apply, unfortunately, it would be too late for you. Now, according to SBA data, the PPP program has given more than $780 billion to over 10.7 million borrowers. But even with this huge number of borrowers and money being allocated through the PPP program, it is still estimated that there will be tens of thousands of borrowers that are now stuck in the PPP pipeline because of the fact that the program ran out of funds. But now begs the question of what now? What does this mean for borrowers and what does this mean for business now that the PPP is over? Well, if you're somebody who was hoping to receive PPP funds, like I stated earlier, unfortunately now is too late. You will not be able to get PPP funds if you're somebody who had not already received it, or at the very least, not already submitted your application. But there is still the EIDL program, and this is still a viable way to get cash infusion into your business. Now, there has been a lot of speculation over the last few months about the possibility of lawmakers forgiving the EIDL loan. And though I don't think that this is likely, I don't think it's impossible either. And I do think that there is a slim chance that at some point later on down the road, lawmakers pass a bill to forgive all EIDL loans. The reason why this is a possibility is because as of right now, most EIDL loans have been deferred, meaning people could have taken out EIDL loans last year and then they don't have to pay anything on those loans for an extended period of time. But what happens once you do have to start paying those loans back? There will inevitably be businesses that are not able to make payments on the EIDL loan once the loan becomes due. And this will lead to either businesses having to close, loans becoming delinquent, or cash flow becoming scarce. And the fact is, if there are enough businesses out there that are not able to make their EIDL loan payments, I think that there is a chance that lawmakers may end up passing some sort of bill to alleviate that pressure. Now, again, I don't think that this is likely, but I do think it's possible, and I do think it's something to keep an eye on over the next few months or over the next year. But either way, regardless of whether the EIDL loan is forgiven, the EIDL loan is still a good funding option for those of you who did not get the PPP. Of course, it isn't as good as the PPP because as of now, it's not forgivable, but it still is a good option for cash infusion if you really need it. In addition to the EIDL loan, we still have the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, which is a grant program for venue operators, so like concert halls or museums or zoos or things like that, that allow for grant funding to these types of business owners. And this is a really great program for those of you who may be involved or may own these types of venues. In addition to the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, then there is still the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which is a grant program for people that own restaurants or like restaurant-focused businesses. For example, bars, pubs, restaurants, food trucks, food carts, and things like that. The end of the PPP marks a major end to a major COVID relief program, but it certainly doesn't mark the end of all COVID relief, and there is still a lot of COVID relief, whether it be loans or grants out there. You just simply have to look for it. Now, don't forget, this really doesn't mean anything for those of you who already got PPP funding. And if you already received the funding through the PPP program, then it's still important to keep track of where you're spending the money, to document everything, and to be on top of your finances to ensure that you can get full forgiveness. In fact, I have a detailed video coming out about this exact same topic tomorrow, so if you're interested in checking that out, then make sure to subscribe and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you do not miss a single video. But with that being said, you guys, like I said earlier, just because of the fact that the PPP is over does not mean that all grant, loan, and funding options are over as well. There is still money out there to help you, to help your business, to help your side hustle. You just have to look for it, and you have to be prepared to do some work on your end in order to get approved. I also think it will be very interesting to see how the next few weeks play out, what their response to the PPP running out of funds will be, not only for the economy, but from lawmakers and from business owners as well as the SBA. And I'm curious to know if there will be any discussion to extend it and to provide more funding to it once again. I don't think it's likely. The PPP has to run out of funds at some point in time, and they can't just keep extending it and giving more funds to it forever. It has to run out eventually, and now I guess is eventually, but it will still be interesting to see what their response is from lawmakers and from the government to the PPP being exhausted. But like always, you guys, if you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, then make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.